really special show today. I'm going to take you back into one of those beautiful luxury suites at the Open, where I had a chance to sit down with this legend, Sir Nick Faldo, a member of the World Golf Hall of Fame. His stories were absolutely classic.
When you think about the eras in the game of golf, and you think about individuals, players that dominated their respective eras, you know, Walter Hagen, Gene Sarazen, Bobby Jones, the modern, if you will, triumvirate, when not talking about Varden and company, although that was grand in their own right. But moving all the way up through Hogan and Snead and Palmer and Nicklaus, he is amongst that legend, that pantheon of players. Between 1987 and 1996, Nick Faldo won 6 major championships, and that's to boot everything else that he won, including 30 times in what's now called the DP World Tour. It's absolutely remarkable. And Sir Nick, I wonder if we could start with 1987, because it was your first of 3 Opens. What was it about 1987 that you now, 9 years, I believe, on tour, if memory serves,
that's right, yeah.
At that point? What was it that was a breakthrough for you at that time?
Well, it was after the great swing change. I did a couple of years belting golf balls under the guidance of David Ledbetter. That came as a bit of a shock. I thought it'd be a 5-minute fix. And so, you know, but it was at that time in my career where I always call it kind of like climbing the rung of ladders. You know, my first goal was to be a pro and then get on tour, and then we had to then get exempt and all that sort of thing. And then you make a goal of, well, I want to win a pro tournament, and can I be a multiple winner? So, you know, I took things step by step. It wasn't like, you know, the kids come out now and go, oh, I'm going to win 10 majors and be world number 1. And you're like, yeah, really? Good luck. So you climb the ladder slowly. So I felt I was ready. I'd had enough experience getting close to Opens. I was leading with 9 holes to play at Birkdale in '83 and blew up, all part of the learning curve. So when I got to Muirfield, I felt really good, felt something was in the air. I was walking back from I was messing around with a putter. I was down in the tented village, and I walked back past, you know, our famous yellow scoreboards, and it was just, you know, it said, welcome to Muirfield. But I looked up and saw my name at the top of the leaderboard. And I just looked and went, all right, I can handle that, keep walking. And so, you know, yeah, that was all kind of part of the trick of seeing it, feeling it, and we played in the rough weather. I played with Ray Floyd first 2 days, and because he came up to me afterwards, he says, God, I think I shot 5 under the first 2 days, and then maybe it was 6, and then it was 73, and then obviously then the famous 18 pars on Sunday, which if any of you have played Muirfield, you know there's plenty of holes where you're not going to make par, isn't there? You know, you got on that particular day, my God, the weather completely changed. I call it, you know, good old Scottish pea soup, and the golf ball was going nowhere. I mean, really nowhere. I had 187 on 16, and I bust a 2-iron, and it went 182. I mean, the kids today are hitting an 8-iron, you know, so it was proper golf in our day.
Incredible.
So,
absolutely.
So yeah, I just felt something was in the air, but trying to win your first time is a very weird feeling. You know, as that line, that's what I was saying to myself. You know, one great shot will win me this, but one bad one's going to screw you up completely. And I was nervous on the putts, couldn't hole anything really, but made a couple of good par putts. But yeah, I think it's quite cool. You know, 30 odd years later. You read on social media, people said, "Oh, I nearly did a Faldo. I got 14 straight pars, and then I made an 8." So, so I thought that's quite a cool thing, 18 pars.
Yeah, when you become a verb, that's pretty strong. So after you win in 1987, how did it change Sir Nick's mindset? Did it give you the confidence now? Did it give you the belief? Because for a lot of people, as we know, they get to that pinnacle and they have trouble carrying on.
Yeah, it's interesting. But I don't know if I didn't set a goal like, if you say to you've got to be careful what we say to ourselves. If you say, I want to win a major, well, guess what you're going to do? Win one major. So it was like, that was part of my journey. I felt I could do more. And then by the US Open the next year, I got in that playoff and I lost that. But call that half a major, and then we get to 89 at Augusta, and same sort of thing. You kind of think, oh, I feel kind of good this week. Just got to get out my own way, go and play. Well, that was funny. I mean, 89, I'm on the putting green, and I'm playing really well from January. You know, I've been in America since Hawaii, and right at the beginning of the season, and I'm playing really well, kept screwing up somewhere. I take an 8 and a 7 at all the wrong times, and I'm finishing, whatever, 50th every week. And but I was hitting it really good. So weird. And I'm putting on the putting green. Jack was always great. Jack said, you know, how you doing? And so I relayed that story. I said, well, you know, Jack, isn't it great? Blah, 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 blah. And I said to him, I don't know whether to let it happen or make it happen, you know? And so Jack is down there and he goes, I know what you mean, and just walks off. And I'm like, okay, well, which one is it? You know? So it's quite funny. So I deem I let it happen, and after 27 holes, I'm going down the 10th, and I'm 6 under, and I'm leading by 2, and then somehow I then must have been trying to make it happen, and I then played the next 27 in 9 over. Yeah, unbelievable. So I hold the record of the highest third round of a champion. That's pretty good, isn't it? I shot 77 in the third round, and we were in the rain, and we had to finish off. We only got to the 13th green. We had to come in. I was playing with Trevino, which was always fun, and he reminded me only a couple of years ago. He said, "Do you remember what happened? We were driven back in the evacuation vans, and it ran out of gas." How about that? We ran out of gas at Augusta. I mean, that guy probably lost us. Anyway, so so we had to walk. I think we had to walk back in, and it all went wrong. I had 6 holes to play the next day, and I thought, if I shoot 2 under for the next 6, you know, I'll be all right. And because I shot 2 over, everything was going wrong. And then I changed putters. He did a famous putter change. And went out there in a miserable attitude, like I don't care, you know, it's all good, you know, woe is me, and it slapped it in at 1 from the front of the green, and then birdied 2, and then birdied 4, and I thought, oh, after birdieing 4, I thought, oh, this is different, and I shot 65, and then obviously made the playoff and all of that, blah blah blah, but you know that again was another. So as you said, that was like the continuation. Once I got that. And I really did want more. You know, by the time I started 1990, I'd been thinking about my equipment. I changed my equipment a bit to help my posture. So you're always fine-tuning everything to get a little bit better. You got to keep moving forward.
Aside from these classic stories that Sir Nick is telling us, you guys just heard him do an imitation of Jack Nicklaus when he did the crouch down putting that. I agree, or whatever. It's absolutely classic. And I wanted to ask you about that because as you were recounting these stories, you talked about World Golf Hall of Famer Raymond Floyd, who won his first major in the 1960s. You talked about, of course, the great Jack Nicklaus, who won his first major in 1962. And then you talked about Lee Trevino, who won his first major. 4 of 6 of his were actually head-to-head against Jack Nicklaus, and that was in the 1968. Your career bridged from the greats of one golden era to your golden era.
Yeah, when Tiger.
Even Sam Snead was still playing when he started playing as a professional.
Yeah.
So it's incredible that you went right up to that Tiger era too.
Yeah, right through all that. Yeah, you know, obviously we had a great era in Europe with Seve. You know, the Watson era as well. So yeah, I was finishing off the Jack era really, or Jack, Lee, and Gary. That kind of those guys, and then it was the Watson, trying to beat Watson at an Open, and then Seve comes along, and then I managed to squeeze in there for a couple of years, and then before Tiger arrived in 96, 97.
And the Great 5, of course, on the European tour.
Yeah, we're going to. Yeah, that was very special. 5 guys, all born in all the same age, all born within a year. We were actually they did a little documentary, and we were actually doing a big interview. The 4 of us left on Monday. I've been pushing that because it's 40 years on since we obviously won the Ryder Cup at the Belfry, which was a historic turnaround in European golf. I mean, that saved European golf, the winning those Ryder Cups, 85, 87, and that whole era, that next 10, 15 years, actually turned around where the European Tour is today.
When you're in the presence of Sir Nick, it's impossible to talk about in the stanza that we have the full breadth and width and impact of his career and those around him. It's absolutely stunning. Just even touching on the Ryder Cup, such as he did for a moment, when you consider Tony Jacklin coming in as captain and then Seve coming back into the fold of the European Ryder Cup side and the run that continued from there, it's stunning. It truly is stunning. Your first Ryder Cup was, what, 77?
77. So here's my good story. So I started golf because of Jack. You know, I watched the Masters in 1971, and literally, you know, I was a sportsman looking for a sport. I was obviously good at sport. Some people are widely read. I was thinly read. So I was looking for a sport, and cut a long story short, so I watched the Masters and literally said to Mum and Daddy, I want to try that. Didn't know anything about it. Went down. We literally booked my 6 lessons the next day, and I started. And I tell you what, if you've got kids, I got a lesson which unintentional to me, but my assistant pro gave me discipline straight away. My first lesson was the grip. Second lesson was grip and posture. Next lesson, grip, posture, and alignment. Fourth lesson, I finally hit a golf ball. Now, you know what the kids are like today, don't you? They pick up a driver, give me 3 seconds, wallop, I hit it, you know? And we got to bring back the discipline. If you want to help your children, we got to bring back discipline, because we know golf is a really tough game. You got to go through the pain barrier, break the ice to get the blimmin' thing airborne, stop topping it, stop shanking it. Then you start to enjoy it. Now we got a problem with the kids where they try it for 5 minutes and go up, and they don't come back to our game. So we've got to install the discipline back somehow and make the discipline fun, or as I say, put the fun back in fundamentals. So that's what I'm working on.
Selfishly, I would love to continue asking Sir Nick a million questions, because it's incredible to have this opportunity, but we have an incredible opportunity for all of you as well. If you would put your hands up and get Steve's attention, you can go ahead and ask a question, Sir Nick. Sir, over here.
Hi, Sir Nick. I'm Hugh from Belfast.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask how you think you would, in your prime, fare against the best players of today out there.
Well, if they want to come and play my equipment, I'd beat them, wouldn't I? You know, they want to, you know. It is a different game now. We need an asterisk, you know, from a different era, you know, 30, for the whole of the 2000s now. You know, the equipment completely different. You know, when we played, we've got you know, the best shaft was dynamic gold. Everybody used X100s in your driver and what have you, and in X's in your irons and S wedges, and that was the only choice we had. As you know, there's hundreds of different choices of shafts now, and the technology is, you know, the ball striking. That's why we swung it slower and smoother, because we really had to nail it. Our sweet spot was literally the size of your fingernail or a pea. Really was. I mean, I love hitting balls. I've got a TrackMan at home, and you can see where you hit the ball, and you can hit it really off center, you know, like 2 millimeters. So, no, I got a bad one, you know, 11 or 12 millimeters off. And I thought, well, I didn't feel great, but it wasn't that. And I've only lost like 3 or 4 yards. And with the equipment we use, if you mishit it, as you know, the driver went in the rough, and you lose. I know genuinely we would lose 25 yards if you mishit it. So that's why we went for the smoother, you know, controlled swing to try and nail it each time. So we had 56 degrees with our wedges. We hadn't even invented Roger Cleveland was the first guy who gave me a 60-degree wedge in early 80s or something, or something late 80s. So all those sort of things, we didn't have the equipment they've got today. So yeah, I'd love them to come back and play with our stuff. And but it's a different game now. It's physically, technically, mentally, maybe not mentally, but definitely physically and technically, a completely different game.
Fascinating. All right, let's do one more question. There's a gent in the back center here.
Alan Leonard, Dublin. I just want to know, did you feel sorry for Greg Norman when you came from behind to beat him in the, was that the Masters, if I remember watching?
Masters,
yeah. 1996. Did you feel sorry for him?
Well, I did, to be honest, yes. I did, because I'm very lucky. I've lost a couple of majors, but I haven't got any scars. You know, seriously, I'm not walking around doing a John van der Velde, you know. And so I would have been scarred if I'd been a 6-shot lead. I had a 4-shot lead at Muirfield in '92, and I frittered it away, but I then rescued it. So and exactly that. Greg was 6 ahead, and yeah, I did. That's why I said to him, I don't know what to say to you, mate. I'll give you a hug. It was the 90s. We were into hugging in that time, you know. So, yeah, I really did. I did, because that was a tough day. But that's what competitive sport's all about. I can't phone it in. I've still got to do my thing. I shot the best 67 of my life. I mean, even Fanny said it's probably the best. She thinks it's the best round. As I said, a lot of people think you can shoot at 62 is your best round, but no, that one was. The greens were like rock. Just to give you a clue, my 67 was the best round of the weekend. Okay, that's everybody. Saturday and Sunday, the best score of the weekend. That'll give you, even the guys all nice and relaxed, just going to play. The greens were like rock, and you really had to, strategy of where you wanted to, a little bit right of the flag, a little bit left, and obviously get up and down. So I played great that day. I technically say I hit every green. We were hitting 2-iron into the 5th back in my day. I hit it on the green. Obviously, it fell off the side, but I technically hit every green. So it's my stat book. Don't like these modern stats. God, geez. So, yeah, that was a special day for me, obviously. So, but I'm blessed with that particular tournament because, as you said, you get all the facts. Me, Greg, 96 Masters. I mean, I travel the world now, and it's 30 years next year of that particular battle. And everywhere I go, every airport, Lindsay can be my witness, somebody will come up and go, oh, you and Greg, 96. I ever started golf. I'm an Aussie. I hate you. But, here's a funny story. I was in Philippines with designing golf courses there, and I'm having lunch with the government. And they said, to talk about the new golf course. And they said, before we start the meeting, tell us about 96. And I said, you are joking me. So I'm blessed. Obviously, I don't mind talking about it. So I can't imagine Greg does. So I'm getting a shirt for next year with a big fish hook on it.
This man's incredibly generous with his time. When you look back on the breadth and width of your career, if you could go back in time, and talk to a 20-year-old Nick Faldo, what advice would you give to that young man?
Yeah, I mean, there's certain priorities that in the game. When I was practicing hard, I think, they're blessed now. We have a thing called TrackMan, so you could cut down on your workload. I think in understanding that we didn't know anything about the physical side. Now, really, they said don't lift weights. I wish I could have just had that little bit more knowledge to just do things even better rather than, we did so much experimenting and guessing. I tell you, another funny one, I did this force plate thing, you stand there and you hit it, and I've got the owner doing it. So I hit one shot, and because up comes the numbers, and he says, well, your optimum impact was 1 foot short of the ball. So obviously to get it to the ball, he said, you've got to move it a little bit further forward. The goal is to get to 100%. And so I turn my toes up inside my shoes, right? And I go, crunch. And he goes, wow, that's 100% perfect. How did you do that? And I go, the 1992 world match play, I turned my toes up inside my shoes because I was hitting it, and I was hitting it better and better and better. Okay, I killed everybody. I played 90 holes that week. I was 45 under for 90 holes, right? So I won the world match play. And I'd done this silly little thing of curling my toes up, right, inside my shoes. Played great, and because the next week you've forgotten that and you're doing something else. So if we had that technology to somebody to go, that's fantastic, you can't do any better than that, and you go, okay, I might use it more than a week, So that's why I love this era now. They're so fortunate because all the information, if you know how to use the information, we were guessing. So I guess, I mean, that's a weird way of answering your question. It's like, I just wish I had that insight to know what we were doing was really good and stick to it. Because we really went off at tangents rather than, the way I teach now, I say, look, I've done all the heavy lifting. Just do this. I can promise you this will work.
Amazing.
You know, so hope that helped.
This man right here is living history. He's a World Golf Hall of Fame member, a 6-time major champion, a man who's helped define the game as we know it today.